3. On the line is Leith Van Onselen, Chief Economist, co-founder of Macro Business, a business and finance website. He's also worked as an economist for the Australian Treasury, the Victorian Treasury. Leith Van Onselen, good morning.
Yeah, g'day, Neil. Thanks for having me on.
Well, thank you. What is a per capita recession in simple terms?
So per capita recession is basically when the economy doesn't grow fast enough to cater for the growth in the population. So everybody's share of the economic pie shrinks. So basically the economy grew by 2.1% in the year to June, but the population grew by 2.4%. So effectively everybody's share of the economic pie fell by 0.3%, and that's happened for 2 consecutive quarters. So that basically means that we're in a per capita recession. And it effectively, as you said, means that living standards are going backwards. Now, the GDP obviously doesn't measure a whole bunch of other things like infrastructure congestion, the surging cost of rents, things like that, which are also hurting living standards. So effectively, we're going backwards, and the economy's performance has been masked by the Albanese Government's extreme immigration program, which has lifted Australia's population by about 620,000 people in the year to June, and that's basically what's driving the nation's rental prices as well.
But it's also keeping us out of recession, isn't it? Bringing those extra people in.
Yeah, it is. It is. Well, I mean, it obviously is if you measure a recession just based on the total share of the total size of the pie.
Yeah.
Where the thing that actually matters to Australians is their share of the economic pie. And what's the point of growing the economy through fire hosing in, and it's seeing the amount of people if everyone's share of the economic pie is actually shrinking, and that's basically what's happening at the moment.
Okay, so how will people notice that? The average person, all the statistics are important, and it's a per capita recession. I understand what you're saying. How do I notice it going about my life?
Well, basically, I mean, households are what's driving this, and we've seen obviously a massive increase in mortgage payments. So basically, mortgage interest repayments have doubled in the past year, and as well as obviously rents are going up, and effectively we've got negative real wage growth. So effectively, wages aren't keeping up with the inflation rate. So effectively, people feel it in their hip pocket, and that's why they're pulling back in their spending. And that's the reason why the economy's actually gone into recession. It's been driven by households cutting back on expenditure because of cost of living pressures.
Well, what can the government do?
Well, basically, I mean, I think the first thing they can do is probably not run immigration so high. That's effectively part of the reason why we got this falling living standards, because obviously we're competing harder for everything, and the surge in immigration is actually now pushing up the unemployment rate as well, and it's also keeping downward pressure on wages. So I think the first step is don't make the situation worse, which is exactly what they've done by growing the population by 620,000 people in a single year.
But you see, the Treasurer has told me that's beyond their control. They're not setting the figure. That's all these foreign students coming in, but they have to provide visas, don't they?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's actually that's categorically false. The Albanese government's taken a bunch of measures to actually expand immigration aggressively. For example, they've committed $600 million $40 million and 600 people to rubber stamp as many visas as they can, which they've done. They've also extended post-study work rights for students, which is basically part of the reason why so many are coming in, because they can see it as an easy path to residence. They've also expanded the permanent migrant intake by 30,000 people. So they've taken deliberate measures to actually boost the immigration intake, and we're now seeing it. And we're seeing it in the rental market where people now cannot get homes.
So how long does this go on for?
Oh, look, I mean, under current settings, it's probably going to last for several years. I mean, the Generation Report itself said that for the next 40 years, the population is going to grow by 14+ million people. That's the equivalent of adding to Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane and Adelaide in just 40 years. It's insane. And that'll mean that we're going to have basically permanent housing shortages, because we can never keep up with that volume of people. We haven't done it for the last 20 years, and we're certainly not going to do it for the next 40 years.
Okay, thank you very much. Leith Van Onselen, Chief Economist of Macro Business, formerly worked for the Australian Treasury, Victorian Treasury. Well, that's what.
You know how to